Before we talk about where we are, we must first remember from whence we came. Marty Schottenheimer brought winning football back to Kansas City and built what is now known as Chiefs Kingdom.
We transitioned from a team built on its defense in the 90s to one of the most dominant offenses and return men in NFL history, led by Dick Vermeil.
In 2012, a 2-14 Chiefs team displayed disastrous play on the field and turmoil off it. We asked to save our Chiefs, and in came Andy Reid, who immediately turned this franchise into a perennial playoff team.
Then, on April 27, 2017, the Chiefs broke free from their journeyman quarterback restraints and drafted Patrick LeVon Mahomes.
In 6 years with Patrick at the helm, we're back-to-back champs and a dynasty headed towards a three-peat. We are unrelenting for this city, these players, and this team. This is the show for the allies. Arrowhead Allies.
Our time spectacular is on the air. It's Great American Allies, formerly known as just the Arrowhead Allies. But guys, we're right on the cusp of the 4th of July here, so get ready for a flag-waving, star-spangled hour of high-octane action, and we are now on the heels of one of the summer's biggest events, the American Century Golf Championship in Lake Tahoe, and our guest this week, Joe Theismann, will be a part of this tremendous event once again. We're going to break down all that and much more, some of the off-season happenings, some of the things that have gone on in the last couple of weeks. We've been out and about. We're going to catch you up on all of it. Guys, I don't know, just by looking at this photo, I think everybody that's already joining us here, everybody here, all of the allies, Lance Twidwell, Shane Williams, Noah Groniger, myself, we're in the spirit here. It's 2 days before the 4th of July, and you know what? It's a summer cracker. It's a firecracker waiting to happen, guys.
Well, hey, can I say, first of all, real quick, a challenge accepted on the beard part of things. I could definitely make that happen.
Do it.
I can get it that long, and I can just, age real quick and then just get the Santa Claus version of this going. But also, I'm a little disappointed, though, because I didn't see Brian with the wig, and I was really hoping for the wig with Brian. I think that would have really topped it off.
We gave him the colonial hat, I guess, there, which, we only had so many wigs to go around. That was Shane and I as the George Washington, Sam Adams.
All dibs.
The budget.
Perfect.
Oh, but here it is. Here we are, guys. This is Noah. I mean, you right here. I think before we went on, Lance said that you look like the Macho Man Randy Savage just threw up all over you. I love that. Yeah, so, wow.
Happy 4th of July, everybody. Ooh, yeah.
You look like that guy in Forrest Gump that's like wearing the flag shirt that's on stage and the war in Vietnam. Yeah.
Looks cool.
That's what I was
Looks
going
really
for,
cool.
so I'm glad it came across.
I'm digging the flag.
You
big
stuck the
time.
landing. You stuck the landing.
This is the fun times. This is the time before we start getting serious here in a couple weeks with training camp. I mean, the Mahomes are on vacation on a 4-week vacay. Travis Kelce's following his girlfriend all around Europe. Right now, we're just laying low, and we're just trying to keep things fun and fast and furious when we can here on the Great American Allies. And I mean, just look around and feast your eyes, folks.
It's all here, baby. It's all here. We bring it 110% every week when we are here. This is the off season. It's hot outside. We're going to try to keep it cool. I know Lance hates this time of the year because it gets too hot. And, when you get to a certain age, you don't want to get as hot as you used to. But nobody right now is currently as hot as Noah. I mean, hell, look at the dude. He's
True.
rocking.
You got to, man. You got to, when you're up at 1 a.m., you're a night owl and you're thinking about the show. And man, this is the Great American Allies show. What can you do? You hit up Amazon and see you got to get $25 for it to be overnighted. If you don't hit the $25, then you don't get it on time. So I bought some candy along with this to get over the $25 threshold. So you don't see that here, but to get the cape, the glasses, the bandana, man, Amazon really worked its magic and feast your eyes, baby.
How many times have I taken you to Hulk Hogan's Beach Shop in Clearwater, Florida, and you had to order something on Amazon overnight?
I don't think they have capes there.
I'll be there next week. What should I buy you, Clint?
Okay, well, we got the new Real American beer that has hit shelves here in Missouri, and it's a game changer, guys. It's a Real American summer, and the Real American beer is here. Hulk Hogan's Real American beer has hit shelves in Missouri. Go to your local Hy-Vee, find it. We're working on a sponsorship right here for Arrowhead Allies and beyond.
Please.
So we're going to go ahead and give them a free plug. And they got the Real American Hogan flag shirt. Bring me back one, Shane. I will pay you that plus 5% for your troubles, buddy.
No troubles at all, baby. When you're down in Clearwater, you embrace all the freaking sun, the shine, the people, the sand, the freaking Gulf, and you got to embrace Hulk Hogan because this statue standing right out there saying, "Come on in, brother."
Oh, it's beautiful.
Lance, I'm going to go to you with this. We got a comment in here already. Kenneth Cadwell. There's talk of, I'm guessing, Stephon Gilmore and Juju Smith-Schuster coming to the Chiefs. I haven't heard those rumors. Have you? And just kind of comment on these if they are possible.
I've heard of neither one of these guys being an absolute possibility for the Chiefs, and I think there's good reason for that. Both these guys are in a different stage of their careers, and I think where the Chiefs are interested at those particular positions. One, I think the Chiefs have, as we've talked about on this show, on several other shows, the Chiefs have thrown a ton of resources at cornerback, and they like to keep it young. They like to keep guys on rookie deals. For me, I just don't know. I know outside of maybe some experience, I don't really know what Stephon Gilmore would bring to this team at this time. I think he's 33 years old. He's had a hell of a career. He's nowhere near the player he once was. If the Chiefs had a serious injury to a Trent McDuffie or a myriad of injuries before training camp let off, maybe you bring him in to see what he can bring to the team. I would imagine he probably wants some money, though, so that's going to be something I think the Chiefs would not be interested in at that position in particular. You all know that I love and have an affinity for Juju for what he did in 2022. He played such a magnificent factor in this offense, helping them bolster to being the number one offense, most electric offense in the league without Tyreek Hill. Made a statement. Then when got paid with the Patriots. From everything we're hearing, though, man, his knees, though, are just really bad. They're really degenerative. I think he's only 27, 28 years old. So it isn't really an age thing with Juju. I think it's just more of a health and availability concern when it comes to Juju. If they could bring him on a very low contract where it's next to nothing, a veteran minimum, I would be open to it just because I don't see the harm in that. Bringing a guy that's already been successful in this offense, and quite frankly, with the need at wide receiver, as we all know, that's still there. It's very much an open competition for the Chiefs when it comes to building this wide receiver room from the ground up from last season. I would be open-minded to it, but for us to think that he could come in here and become the guy or replicate even what he did in 2022, I think is a little far-fetched. So I would be open-minded to Juju on a very low-end deal, low risk, potentially medium reward. But I think Stephon Gilmore, I think that's more of a far-fetched idea.
Yeah, and Clint, I find this odd. Kenneth added to it and said, Gilmore said the Chiefs are his number one choice in free agency, and Juju said he expects to be cut by the Patriots soon, and he wants to come back to Kansas City. I mean, these guys want to come here, so I guess just sign them. Everyone wants to come here, right?
Yeah, well, we've kind of thought about that all through these years about I remember back in the Herm Edwards era, there would be, you'd get a Jeff Fain or someone that would come visit here, and it would never pan out. Kansas City was not the place to be. Kansas City is the epicenter of all things mega sports in 2024. And with that comes a little bit of a perk. And with that, we welcome our guest this week, Joe Theismann here. He is joining us on our Great American Allies. And what better guest to have on 2 days before the 4th of July? You're just joining in this flag-waving, star-spangled celebration here, Joe. What better person than you?
Well, you're so kind to include me in this celebration. I mean, it's we're so special to be living in this country, to be able to do the things we're able to do. And to all the men and women out there that serve in the military, we want to thank them so much for the sacrifices that they have made and their families have made. And I hope it's going to be a safe 4th of July. That's the most important thing.
Absolutely. And Joe, we've got this little image that we made for it. This is our Great American Allies show, and everyone's decked out, even you, Joe.
Thank you very much. The hat actually fits pretty well. I appreciate that.
It does. And Joe, last time we talked to you a little bit about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. It was somewhat of a new romance. Started with a friendship bracelet and a dream. But now we see Travis up on stage at the Eras Tour, and you're going to see him at the American Century Golf Classic along with us. Right. Just talk about how this relationship is evolving. And Travis Kelce on stage at the Eras Tour, what are we coming to?
I think it's, when you are in a position that both Taylor and Travis are in, it's sort of hard to keep things out of the public, I guess you could say. But what I appreciate is both of them have embraced the situation. Both have them embraced their relationship, and they don't run and hide. As much as you can, you do what you do. And Travis hasn't changed one bit of who he is. And I know Taylor's working very hard and just an incredible entertainer. And it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to seeing Travis out at the American Century Championship in Lake Tahoe coming up here between the 12th and the 14th. Matter of fact, we got a new feature with our tournament. It's called ACCFantasyGolf.com. You can log on,
Ooh,
get a
wow.
chance to build your own team. Everybody's broken down into 5 teams, all the participants. You can pick one every day. And if you get them all right for the 3 days, you wind up winning a $10,000 prize that you have the charity of your choice gets that money. And if you win every day, you get 2 tickets to next year's tournament, as well as the grand prize winner. So it's a great opportunity. It's going to be on NBC, Peacock, and the Golf Channel. It'll be on those 3 channels, and you'll get a chance to watch some really, really great golf. I mean, there's so many people out there that are so good. I just am awed at it.
And there you see it. You can sign up there at ACCFantasyGolf.com. Joe, it's finally happened. This is our first year covering the event here. We've made it happen. Just set the scene for us about kind of not only what we can expect as first-time media with all these wonderful celebrities. There's you, Jason, Travis Kelce, Aaron Rodgers. There we see Miles Teller from Top Gun. That's my favorite movie of the last decade, so we had to throw him in here. So just set the scene for us here, Joe. What can we expect coming up here on the 10th through 14th?
Well, first of all, when you go to Lake Tahoe, the majestic nature of that setting is absolutely incredible. The snow-capped mountains, there mostly will be, I'm sure. The lake is just unbelievable. The 17th hole is lined with boats and lined with people. I remember this is my 34th out of the 35 years.
Wow.
So I remember back when we first got started, there were like 10 people on the hole. Now there's like almost 15,000. It's just amazing. We're expecting over 50,000 people to be able to attend. One other thing, too, is what American Century has done is they provided close to $8 million in donations to charities as well. So it isn't just a golf tournament. And, having fans there makes it special. I mean, so many of us are so used to it, whether you're in the entertainment industry and you're at a concert and you're doing a concert, or whether you're an athletic event and there's people in the stands. It doesn't matter. It's the same kind of environment. And I get more nervous teeing off on the first tee in this tournament than I ever have anywhere. Both Super Bowls, it doesn't matter. I just get nervous. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Mr. Theismann, first of all, it's an honor to get a chance to talk with you tonight, man, and I appreciate you taking the time with us. First and foremost, I want to pick your brain, obviously, about the quarterback position, because that's obviously what you played. That's what you probably paid attention to the most. When it comes to the evolution of where the quarterback play is now, I'm sure that when you were playing, you saw guys before you that you try to maybe mold or shape your game after a little bit, or try to take some notes and add things to your game, or take things out of your game and mold it into more of their style. But now that you see guys playing the way they're playing now, the added protection, the freedom to play where systems are built around quarterbacks, not the other way around, are there a couple quarterbacks here and there? Are there a lot of quarterbacks? Maybe one guy that you see in particular that you see a little bit of yourself in? And I talked to the guys, by the way. They said if you say Patrick Mahomes, we're totally okay with that. So I just want to throw that out there.
Patrick is bigger, stronger, faster, has a stronger arm. But I think he plays with a controlled abandon. When he breaks the pocket, he knows exactly what he wants to do. I love the piece in the Super Bowl they ran when Steph Curry critiqued Patrick Mahomes as a basketball player and his vision and his ability to be able to pass and be able to find different individuals. I think, I had that with Art Monk. And someone asked me once, they said, how difficult is it to find the open receiver? I said, actually, it's the other way around. If you really watch the games as closely as I try to, you'll see Travis working into the vision of Patrick, which Art Monk did for me. So it's sort of a combination of getting a feel for one another, knowing when someone's in trouble, where you need to go to give them the best opportunity to get the ball out of your hands. I'll tell you, this is a young man I watched a little bit of last year, but I really like him, is C.J. Stroud down in Houston.
Yeah.
I think he is truly going to be a rising star in this league. And, with Aaron moving on in age and a lot of other, heck, Joe Flacco came back and played this past year, and he probably will be on a roster this year again. But I don't know if I see myself in Patrick, but I played that way. I managed to move around, get out of the pocket. A lot of our design with our offense was to do that as well. And I think that's what Andy does also, is he's not going to stand Patrick back there and let him get hit. But the position has changed. I mean, they protect the living daylights out of him. The one penalty that bothers me when it comes to roughing the quarterback is when a quarterback gets pushed to the ground. That is not roughing. That's a love tap. They ought to redefine that in the Brill's book. You can't love tap a quarterback. I mean, it's just that simple. But other than that, I love the way they're trying to protect the athletes. I love the way the game has become wide open. Everything runs in cycles. When you think back to the old AFL, and for those of you that don't know what the AFL was, it was the American Football League at that time, and it was wide open. John Hadle, Lenny Dawson, they threw it all over the place. Well, those days are back again. If you throw it 40 times a game, that's pretty close to an average.
Yeah, Eric Coryell, Dan Fouts, letting it rip.
Joe Namath,
Absolutely. Broadway Joe.
Hey, Joe, appreciate you joining us tonight. It's always an honor. I got a two-part question. I'm sure you've heard about the Rashee Rice incident that took place on March 30th. We still don't know if when he's going to be suspended. Now there are some rumors coming out that the suspension could go to year 2025 next year. My question to you is, when you see a teammate do something that is not only beyond ignorant, it's tragic. It could have been really, really bad. Driving 120 miles an hour down the highway in Texas, he's licensed 2 cars. Him and his friends hit 2 cars. Not only do they not check on the people that they ran into, they leave the scene. So my 2-part question to you is, as a quarterback, if this was you right now, and this is your number 1 wide receiver doing this, how do you handle that internally? And as an NFL analyst, how do you look at that? And what do you think his suspension should be?
Basically, I stay away from it. I think that's personal. That's something that the National Football League has to deal with. That's something that the team has to deal with. And all you can do is your job. And that's basically really all I have to say about that situation. We know what has happened so far, and I'm sure the NFL is going to continue to research it.
Joe, I want to ask you, you've accomplished so much in your career, played quarterback at Notre Dame, won a Super Bowl MVP, NFL Man of the Year, broadcaster. I can keep going on. But if you could go back in time and talk to young Joe Theismann growing up, whether it's a time where he's unsure of himself or going through struggle, what words of advice would you have for him?
It's funny. I wrote a book called How to Be a Champion Every Day. And in the book, the last thing in the book is a letter to my younger self. And I really recommend that to so many people is take the time. If you could recommend something to young you, what would it be? And for me, it would be, don't let people tell you that you cannot do something. So often people look at situations and say, oh, you're too small. You're not big enough. You're not fast enough. You're not this. You're not that. It's the same thing in the workplace. But don't let somebody discourage you from chasing your dreams. That would be the one thing that I would tell little Joey Theismann as he was growing up in South River, New Jersey. Man, don't give up your dreams. Just because somebody doesn't think you can't do it doesn't mean that you don't believe you can.
Well said. Love it.
Well, Joe, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about your team there in Washington, the Commanders coming in here. And, we were at the NFL draft in Detroit, Michigan here back in late April. the Jaden Daniels effect coming in here. We've talked a lot about how we like this player even more than a Caleb Williams. We saw him play at LSU as we cover the Missouri Tigers here. We saw Jaden just take that game completely over in the second half against Missouri this year. We know what he's capable of, but what are the expectations? Year one, we talked about the quarterback position. You talked about quarterbacks you like. Where are you at with Jaden, and what are the expectations going to be for him coming into year one?
I think it's almost like CJ Stroud set the template for Jaden. Similar type of athletes, throw the ball very well. He has to learn how to protect the ball, and he has to learn how to protect himself. In fact, I watched him in mini camps. I had a chance to sit down and visit with him a little bit. I really like him. He's a good young man. He wants to learn, and that's a big thing. He doesn't come in with this "I'm here" attitude. He comes here with what do I need to do? How do I need to grow? What are the things I need to understand? And to me, I feel like the thing he's got to be able to do is just be a sponge. Just learn as much as you can. Get better every day. And to me, when I say protect yourself, we see too many young guys, and Anthony Richardson's a classic case in Indianapolis. You think you're big, you're strong, you're tough, but there are a lot bigger, stronger, tougher guys in the NFL. And if you think you're going to run over them or you think you're going to take one of those hits and survive, not many of them are going to do that. So I say protect yourself so that you can practice and play every day and you have the ability to be able to continue to learn. You can't play 3 games and then miss 4 and then go back and then miss some more. You never really get ahead in this game. You never really learn. You want to watch yourself on film. You want to study the things that you do. You know why you made that decision to throw the ball there. But you're the only one that really knows it because it's in your head. You can sit and watch other people do it, but you don't understand what's going on in their head and why they made the decision. Was there a defender in the way? Did I put a little bit of air under it thinking that he might be able to go up and go get it? So many factors enter into it. And I would just say learn every day. Every day. Just be available to learn every day.
Joe, we saw that the Chiefs' former guard Nick Allegretti signed with you guys, the Washington Commanders. You're welcome, by the way.
Thank you.
We see the Commanders are a team loaded with wide receivers. It'd be really nice if maybe you guys wanted just to hand us one or two of those guys. We could really use one of those. I'm just saying, and if it's Terry McLaurin, I'm totally okay with that. I'm just letting you know. But in a sidebar here, you mentioned on my previous question about the evolution of the quarterback position,
right?
And how the love tap and things of that nature. Patrick Mahomes is one of those quarterbacks I think that starts to wake up in a game when he gets those love taps. He likes to feel the game. He likes to feel like he's in the midst of the violence, if you will. And something I like about Patrick is this season in particular. I think he grew more as an individual player than he did in his previous 5 seasons because it was so damn difficult for him to manufacture points, to get the ball moving, because there was just a lot of things he had to overcome with drop passes, things of that nature, you name it. Do you think the evolution of Patrick Mahomes is just starting, or do you think that we're starting to see what he is as a complete player? Because he's going to be 29 years old. This is usually when great quarterbacks start to really hit their prime years. Do you think that we're just now starting to see the apex of Patrick, or do you think that we've seen the majority of how great he already is?
I think we've reached a point of greatness. I don't believe that it's total in its nature because every day you have to learn. Every day you're out on the field trying to get better. Every day you're learning the teammates around you. And Patrick had a heck of a year last year. If you step back and look at it, had it not been for 35 passes dropped. And look what the Kansas City Chiefs looked like towards the end of the season, last 3 games or so and into the playoffs, when they didn't put the ball on the ground. I mean, the offense by design is dynamic. Patrick is dynamic. And all he needs is that other element. This is why you guys have heard me say this umpteen times. The quarterback position is the single most dependent position on the field. You can't win without one, but unless there's a supporting cast, it's very difficult to win. I think Patrick's just going to continue to grow and get better. And he sort of set a bar and a standard in this league that I think is going to be very difficult for a lot of people to achieve, mostly because of what I said before. He's on the field practicing all the time. Andy can do things with him. He doesn't have to modify plays or scenarios or situations because he's got his quarterback to be able to work with. And when the mad scientist has all the different elements to work with, it's a lot easier than if you're missing one or two.
Joe, you touched on the evolution of the game at the very beginning when you talked about everybody's just passing. You had Joe Bugle, you had the Hogs, you were running with Riggins, going to the Super Bowl with a monster offensive line. When you look and see how much this game has evolved to the running backs not getting paid, and they're kind of upset now that they're not getting paid because everybody's passing the ball because we have evolved in the NFL. Do you think the running game will come back because a coach will believe in it? 3 yards in a cloud of dust to slow the game down, to beat these teams that are obviously forward thinking. Do you think that style will ever come back? Or do you think that, no, we're locked in, the running backs are going to be 2-3 years in the league and they're going to be gone? What's your take on that? Do you think it could ever come back, Joe?
I don't think it'll ever come back to where it was in the 4 yards in a cloud of dust days. I believe that the running backs are underpaid. I believe they're undervalued more than anything else. The Philadelphia Eagles, I think, got a heck of a football player in Saquon Barkley. I think that was one of the biggest moves of the offseason by a football team that got older on the defensive side and now all of a sudden has gotten younger in a lot of positions. But I do believe that you still have to be able to run the football. I played for George Allen when I came into this league a number of years ago. And he thought, his bottom line was you run the football and you stop the run, your chances of winning go up immensely. And that's really the way it is. There's more things that can happen bad throwing the football than there can running the football. And although the rules now are set towards throwing the ball a lot more, you still want to be able to grind it out at the end. You don't want to put the ball in the air. Let's take a classic example of the Atlanta Falcon New Orleans Saints Super Bowl. You know, Atlanta's throwing at the end of the game. If you just run a certain amount of time off the clock, the Pats don't have a chance to do it. And even if you run it 3 times and make them use timeouts and you're eating up the clock, it's all a question of clock management at that point. But to me, I really believe that the running back position is vastly undervalued. And you watch as the year goes on. Well, look at the Chiefs. It isn't all about just throwing the football. You know, you look at their running backs. They're solid. They're a part of the passing game, but also they're a part of the running game. You're not going to see 5, 6, 7 runs anymore like you have before, but they're going to be essential in setting up the passing game.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Joe, we're going to hit our final 4 here. 4 quick questions at you. Get to learn a little bit more about you, just whatever comes to mind. I'm going to start it off and ask you your favorite movie and television show of all time that you can think of, or one of them at the top of your list.
Top Gun Maverick.
Yes.
Love that movie.
I mean, thank you.
I every chance I get, that and We Were Soldiers are my 2 favorite movies.
We are tracking Miles Teller down here in Lake Tahoe. If there's one person, Joe, I'm going to have to go right by you, right to Miles Teller, because I have to.
Absolutely.
I have to get him.
I'll step aside. I'll hold the chair for him.
For me, my question, Joe, what's the best concert you've ever been to?
Oh gosh, I'd have to go. My first concert was a Bob Dylan concert at the University of Notre Dame when I was like 18 years old.
Wow.
That was my first one. And then I had a chance to see the Eagles. Then I had a chance to see Reba McEntire. I just, but really right now I'd say Journey. Journey is one of my favorite concerts. Those are ones, Eagles and Journey for recent time, I guess would be the ones I say.
Perfect.
My quick one is, how did Joe Washington and John Riggins complement each other?
Well, John was our first and second down back, and Joe was our third down back. And interestingly enough about Joe Washington, everybody thought Joe's sort of a slight guy. He would want to run outside. That wasn't his thing. He wanted to run between the tackles. Of course, Big John could do both. But Joe was elusive. He was quick. In the passing game, it was very difficult for anybody to cover him. He was hard for me to get the ball to in the passing game, because in our game, what happens is when you got a receiver going out, they want to give a hint, give a little shake and get separation. Joe was so quick, he'd just go out and run. He'd be at the sidelines before I got to my drop. And so we had to sort of slow things down a little bit for him. But 2 very, very different types of backs. Both of them really loved to run inside. Of course, Joe had exceptional speed, and John was just, what can you say, a Hall of Famer.
Right. Joe, let's say Paramount Pictures comes to you right now and says, hey, man, we're pitching a movie. We're going to make a story about you. We're going to make a story about you guys winning the Super Bowl, all that fun stuff. But we have a problem. We need you to cast the guy that's going to play Joe Theismann. Who's going to be that? Is it Tom Cruise? I'm assuming it's Tom Cruise. Like who's playing Joe Theismann in this movie, man? Tell me.
Miles Teller.
Miles Teller, yes. That's it. That's it.
I can see some similarities there. I can see it.
Hey, except I can't play the piano. And I can't sing. So that's where it's
football,
right
so
there.
you guys are even.
Yep.
Joe, we can't thank you enough. We're going to see you here July. We're going to be getting in there, I think, July 10th on the Wednesday. The event will begin on the 12th through 14th, where it'll be on NBC and Peacock. We cannot wait for the American Century. We can't wait to see you. We can't thank you enough for being with us on Arrowhead Allies to talk about it. It's the Great American Allies. It's the 4th of July week here, and we are celebrating all together. Thank you so much, man. It's been a true honor.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, guys. Great being with you. Take care.
Appreciate
And remember, sign up for ACCFantasyGolf.com. Get there now.
Yep. You're on my team. You, Miles Teller, Jerry Rice, and Travis Kelce.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Joe.
Fun group, I'll tell you that.
Absolutely.
Great stuff.
Honor. We'll see you soon, Joe.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Thank you, Joe.
That was the great
Good
Joe
game.
Theismann. Guys, there are times on this show where I reflect back to kind of where things all started for us. And, Joe's been a friend of ours now for years. And anytime that I ever call on him to come on the show, he says yes and is always more than happy to do it. And it says a lot about you guys and how he likes interacting with everybody. And he's one of the greats, one of the good guys. And that Sunday night crew, we talk about it all the time.
Like Patrick,
Sunday night
man,
football.
that was great.
With Paul McGuire.
That was great.
Absolutely one of my favorites of all time. Yeah.
I wish they didn't leave. I wish they were still calling Sunday night football.
I do too. And
At least Thursday night, because Al Michaels is a legend, but man, he's been Biden-esque. He's been falling asleep at the mic. So man, I don't know how much longer they're going to keep going with Al Michaels. I know they talked about an AI doing something for the Olympics to help Al Michaels, but when you're doing AI to help commentating, if anybody does that for me, please pull me off the freaking mic. But Mike Patrick and Joe Theismann are legends. Man, I wish they were still calling football.
Yeah, that's a good thing to bring up, is just that I feel like that the broadcasting game is not at the level. Again, we're, I'm 40 now. You guys are getting there. Noah and Lance getting up there. You'll get there someday, but
I'm way up here.
So Shane, you get it. Like, it's just not the same. I mean, when you're growing up in the 90s, like we were, and when you have John Madden and Pat Summerall, when you have the Sunday night crew that we've talked about, when you have some, Dick Imberg and some of these, it's hard to replicate. I'm not saying these guys don't work hard and don't do a good job in 2024, but thank you. Someone had to.
Isn't it just a testament though of like how special those guys are though? And
yes,
like
it is.
Special those times were. I mean, because you don't just have these guys literally growing on trees. So when you have Theismanns and Maddens and guys like that, you have to appreciate them when you got them, man. So I definitely agree with you guys. It is nowhere near the same equality. And it's weird too, because the quality of the game in some aspects has gotten better, but the calling of the games is just kind of taking a back seat. So hopefully we'll get to that point, man, where we get some of these new generation guys that get it and understand. Because I think Greg Olson, his defense, is one of those guys that understands.
Yeah, he's good.
I think he does really well. And I know this is an unpopular opinion, guys, but I've been listening to Tom Brady. I think he's got it. I think he's going to be good. I really do. I mean, he was on there for 30 minutes with Colin Cowherd the other day, and he was killing it. I'm just saying, give him a shot. That's the guy that despises him.
I translate everything Lance said there to just say he misses Dennis Miller and Tony Kornheiser on Monday Night Football. So that's the translation of
2001, 2002, something like that?
Oh, man.
That was brutal, man. Oh, it's like a stand-up show that no one laughed at.
So true.
We've got some video that we've taken over the past month that we're going to get into here. There's some background noise in this one, but this is Reese Zammit talking about kind of all the development that he's going through and having to learn. And this was at the Justin Reed, Trey Smith, Kansas City Charity softball game. So this is about a minute and a half. You can still hear him pretty good, but there is some background noise, but it's good stuff. So you'll enjoy it.
OTAs has been unbelievable for me because, I get live reps on the field and that's what I need because, obviously I've never played the sport before. So being able to get the reps with the boys, being able to, see how they play, how I can get myself involved in the game. Obviously you mentioned the return, the kickoff return, that's going to be massive for me. Being on option there, and obviously there's a lot of similarities with rugby and kickoff return. I'm really looking forward to it. And these past few weeks has been great for me for my learning and development. It's always been a dream of mine to make it in the NFL. My dad played American football growing up in the UK, and I played rugby since I was 7 years old, and it was just about when the right opportunity was to be able to make that switch and leave that sport behind. And I thought now was the perfect time, and I'm loving being out here. KC's unbelievable, best team in the league and the best fans in the league as well, which is great. I just want to play at Arrowhead now because that's the one I want to tick off and be able to play in front of the crowd. Everything's completely new to me because this is a completely different sport. It's got similarities in terms of kick return and being able to beat defenders one-on-one. Awareness, trying to get into a gap, especially at running back, but running routes is completely new. Which is great because this is a big challenge that I'm taking on, and I'm very much being a sponge in terms of learning from others. As you said, the running backs in the room, we've got a load of experienced wide receivers as well that I'm trying to pick up little bits of their games that make them great. So I'm loving it.
Good stuff, guys. That was good work.
Not going to be very popular with the ladies, but I do think Chiefs Kingdom will embrace him.
Yeah, I mean, we got to answer.
Not after they've seen this.
We got to talk about the hype of him, though. Is it real hype? Is this guy going to be a star, or is it Brian Shea, Jesse Haynes? We've been there when we've seen these kids get all this hype until training camp and preseason. Then we're like, okay, they didn't make the team. Lance talked about on the Spoken a couple weeks ago that his jersey is the third highest jersey being sold worldwide behind Mahomes and Kelsey, over in Europe, because everybody in Europe's buying his Chiefs jersey. So training camp and preseason, I wish there was 5 preseasons for him to see if he can get the reps in, but there's only 3, and we hope we get to see what he's all about in July and August. What do you think, Lance?
Yeah, the opportunity is there for him to succeed, but see, I think people need to understand what the definition of succeeding is for him, because maybe I'm the guy that just has to be the wet blanket here, but guys, the chances of him becoming something of a star in an NFL status is just not there. I hate to say it that way, but what he's going to be is a guy that I think at best is a difference maker in moments and in time. I think that he could be a guy because it's a perfect situation that's happening now where the league is starting to change and shift their kickoff rules. We now know that the Chiefs are experimenting with the idea of having either a Justin Reed or a Zamet being the guy that kicks the ball off for the tackling purposes that'll be there now, because now we know the kickoff game is once again relevant, or at least that's the way it's looking to this point. So obviously having Harrison Butker off the field is an ideal situation for that, but narrowing it down even between Reed and Zamet, you know that Justin Reed, the starting safety of a defense that's going to have to be, he's a valuable piece to this team three-peating. You're probably not going to want him to be on that field on special teams as much either. So that leaves Zamet. And I think that's the place where Zamet can really shine in this offense, is in special teams, opportunities to make big tackles, because we know the one thing that football and rugby have that is very common and very similar is hitting the crap out of each other, colliding with another grown man. And I think that's where Zamet's natural ability can really take shape. I know a lot of people want to see him become a wide receiver. I know a lot of people want to see him become a running back. But see, instinctually, that may not be there. It could be, but even if it is, I think it's going to take a long time for him to really develop and process that game. I know a lot of people talk about, Christian Okoye didn't have a lot of true NFL experience before playing for the Chiefs. That might be true, but guys, I think there are more. That's more of an exception to the rule than something that we can just assume Zamet can become. I think this guy has natural talent. He's a really good athlete. He's 6'2", 6'3", 200 pounds, handsome guy. He's got the Peaky Blinders thing going for him. He's got a lot of good things going for him. I just think that when it comes to making this team, which I do think can happen, we're gonna have to tone our expectations down a little bit. But just hear me out. If he makes this team, that's a success. I'm going to be rooting for this kid. If he just makes the team and becomes a part of the 53, that's a success. And the crowds across the world should celebrate this kid, including us here in the Kansas City region, because that is something you do not see very often from guys of other sports who are adapting their skill sets to this sport, and how hard it is for guys that spend 20 plus years trying to get into this league. For him to do it is something that we should celebrate, even if he never becomes a guy that even scores a touchdown. But if he can make a couple tackles here and there in key games, key moments, and change the momentum of a game, how do we not view that as a success?
100%. And that leads us into our next video is Dave Tobe. We caught up with him at Justin Reed's inaugural golf tournament. And the first part of this clip is him talking about Nico Remigio as the #1 kick returner and how he can make this roster. And the second part is talking about Luis Rees-Zamet on returns, either pitching it back or faking it and going, and how rugby has played into that. So here's Dave Tobe on Nico Remigio and then LRZ.
He's probably our #1 kick returner right now. I'd put him in that category. So he's got a real good shot in my book, to make this team. Now he's doing everything he can as a wide receiver. He has to get in the depth there. He probably has to be a 5th or 6th round sixth receiver to be able to be on the 53. He's at least going to be on the practice squad. I guarantee that. And him and McCole are going to be battling out. You're exactly right. You're going to battle it out for that spot. So we'll see it. It'll come down to the return game, and we'll see how they do on the offensive side too as well. He can pass the ball better underhanded than he can overhanded. So we have a play where he actually gets the ball as a returner, either fakes it or tosses it to the other returner, underhanded. So because it's a quicker, more safe pass. So it's something. He's got a lot of tools. He can kick off, he can cover. He could be a cover guy too. I'm really excited about his prospects this year.
And there it is on LRZ and Nico Remigio. And if you can't beat out McCole for that last spot, then your NFL card's revoked. So that's all I have to say about that. And we go back to Trent McDuffie and the Kansas City charity softball game. He's talking about losing L'Jarius Sneed, how they're excited about the opportunity for some of these other guys to step up. And then he goes on to talk about the Tyreek Hill forced fumble, how Spags preaches that, and getting the best of old friend Cheetah, Tyreek.
Man, we're excited. You know what I mean? I think it's a great opportunity for some new guys to come out here and show the crowd their skills and just be a part of this community. I know we're going to miss LJ. You know, that was our brother, but happy for him and what he got going on. But for us, man, we're going to lock back in like always. This is something we harp on all the time. I mean, you ask Coach Spags. I mean, every day in practice, he's talking about punch the ball out. So opportunities came our way, and luckily we were able to get the ball out. But as far as Tyreek, I mean, it's just one of those things where man-to-man, good place happened to good people. So happy that we won and glad we got another Super Bowl ring. That's all that matters.
Trent is a guy that's going to have to hold it down. He's going to have to assume that role of the L'Jarius Sneed. Now, you know, what Trent has lacked in playmaking, he has more than made up for in just pure coverage skills. I don't know that we've seen a more talented pure coverage corner probably since Marcus Peters here. L'Jarius Sneed really became that playmaker. We saw it in the AFC Championship game. We saw it in the playoffs. We saw it throughout his 4-year career here in Kansas City. But I think the future is bright with this cornerback position. I'm good with the way things have kind of shaken out here. And I think Trent McDuffie, the wave of the future for this secondary, and we'll see who can kind of join him here in that second role. We know the draft picks over the last 2 years. We know the Joshua Williams of the world. We know the Jalen Watsons. We know what if a guy like Nick Collins this year? What are we going to see from our guy Najee Johnson? He was going to make the team, I think, this year. And yes, Kamal had a rookie out of Tennessee. I think the future's bright. I don't think the drop-off's going to be as significant as some have said. Even Brian on this show expects this defense to take a big step back. I don't know that I'm there. I think that this is still going to be a very good defense, a defense to be reckoned with, and the secondary's in good hands.
I definitely trust Spags on that. You know, taking away from both, I think McDuffie is going to step up and be that guy. I was watching a 49ers podcast just to get their thoughts a couple days after the Super Bowl, and they were adamant that Trent McDuffie's the best cornerback they've seen. He's like, who is this guy? He's so underrated. Trent McDuffie, he was knocking the ball out of all our receivers' hands. He was covering everybody. But specifically back to the point from Dave Tobe I want to touch on, what got my attention most of anything is what you said, Noah. He said he's going to compete with McCole Hardman. You know, when McCole Hardman re-signed, we all thought, at least I thought, that McCole Hardman's got that job. When Dave Tobe told you, Noah, he told you straight up, you know, Nico Remigio is going to compete for that spot with McCole Hardman. So that's going to be a fun battle to watch. A fun battle that I didn't know there was going to be those two competing. What do you think, Lance?
Yeah, see, I took it differently. We talked about this on the Spoken podcast, and I looked at that as Dave Tobe knows what he's doing, man. He knows what to say and when not to say things. He's an Andy Reid guy. And I think what he did in that moment is knowing that McCole Hardman, in my opinion, is a guy that if everything just goes normal, he's going to make this roster just because of how comfortable the Chiefs are with him. I think of it in the same stratosphere as a Clyde Edwards-Helaire. If he just simply stays healthy, he's probably going to make this team because the offense, the team is just familiar with them and they like the comfortability of the player.
There's no other running backs on the roster.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Like right now, McCole doesn't have a ton of competition. Hear me out on this, and maybe you guys think it differently, but I think the reason why Tobe intentionally said McCole when he brought up Nico is because he knows the narrative that's out there right now and what everybody's going to be watching. It's what Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney are going to be doing at camp. Are they going to be available? And if he was to point one of those guys or both of those guys out in a comparison to a Nico Remigio that everyone's high on, and you all know I'm high on him, if he was to say that to you guys, to the media, that creates another narrative, and that creates even more pressure for Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore to have to live up to. And I don't think that Tobe wants to put more flame or fuel to the flame, if you know what I'm saying. I think he knows those guys are already under enough pressure, and I truly believe that Nico's taking one of those two guys' jobs. I don't think McCole Hardman has much to do with it because I think they view McCole Hardman as that depth and that safety valve that they can utilize in a crunch in a pinch because he's always there and always available, whereas Kadarius Toney is not, and Sky Moore is just not reliable enough. So I look at it as Toe being very careful in how he says it to kind of get the view off these two guys that we know everyone's already going to be paying attention to, and kind of controlling the narrative a little bit more for Nico Remigio to shine. Because I'm telling you right now, guys, get your popcorn ready. This kid is going to shine, and he's going to make the roster. I'm not saying he's going to become a superstar, but he will be a guy that has earned Patrick Mahomes' trust in the offense and will play a role in special teams. How much or how often, I don't know. What I will tell you, though, is I don't truly believe the competition is going to be between these two guys. I think those are the two names that Tobe wanted to intentionally put out there so the other two guys can do what they need to do without as much pressure on them as there already is so much pressure on those two guys to do what they need to do in year 3 and in year 4 in this offense.
Good point, Lance. I like the way you look at that.
And speaking of McCole, I mean, after we drafted McCole instead of DK Metcalf, I blacked out. I lost. I don't really know what happened in the days following that, but the Chiefs sent me video from their team facility on what happened with me. Apparently they say I'm in this video and they're looking at potential damages. And so we're just going to roll this and see what I did, because I haven't even seen this yet. So we're going to watch it together.
You, buddy, what's your name? Stan. Oh!
A random Chiefs employee got super kicked by me. I'm so sorry. I couldn't handle it. I was upset.
Sorry, Brad G. Didn't mean to. You were just standing there. He shouldn't have been standing there.
Shouldn't have answered me. Too bad Brian's not here, his favorite, Shawn Michaels.
Oh, man.
But we've also, our last video, I'd like to make that our last one, but we've got Chris Jones. There was a lot going around the NFL put out a thing. Yes. Chris Jones said he wanted to skip training camp. No, he was joking. So we decided to bring you the full clip of what he said there and what he said after when he was talking about maybe if I get a little veteran time off, that'd be nice. But Andy just kind of stares at me when I bring it up. So negotiations are still ongoing. We'll see what Chris Jones had to say.
And I already been talking to Andy about let me skip out on training camp. You know, I'm a little older, right?
Right.
So yeah, I can feel it. I can feel when we have a day on training camp, you know, give me like 2 days off and 1 day on, then we maybe can work something out, you know?
What was his response to that?
He just looked at me, so conversation is still ongoing. If I'm able to do a day on, a day off, or a day on and a half a day, I can do that. You know, I think it's pretty fun.
Wow, context. That's wild.
I'm just glad we still had a PA announcer interrupting that one as well for us at
Yes.
the Chris Jones football camp last week. Shout out to PA announcers.
9-year-olds on the left side of the field conducting an interview. Darn.
Okay, it's our 1-2 minutes with Chris Jones all year, but it's all good. We got to get it. Everybody, the helmet's not a chair, gentlemen. Never forget it. The helmet's not a chair. Let's go. Let's get in a straight line. I want to pick those cones up over there, guys. Pick those cones up. I don't want to see any cones left behind.
There's no I in team.
There's just football camps, man. We've hung around so many now that we've become almost a part of them, and that's great stuff. Chris was great. He loved it. He wants to be on stage. No, he said he would leave it to Travis Kelce to be on stage with Taylor. He's him and Cam Saunders can be up there, but Chris is the greatest. I love that guy. You cannot. I mean, let's face it. If there's a Mount Rushmore of Chiefs players for this Patrick Mahomes era, it's Mahomes, it's Kelce, it's Chris Jones, and it's Tyreek Hill. That's it. And if you don't want to put Tyreek on there, you could, I guess, put Andy Reid in his place, but
yeah, the coaching feels better. I feel like the coach has to be attached to it because Tyreek is
I'm good with it.
One of 3 Super Bowls. So yeah, I probably put Andy. But
That's
if you
fair.
want to go strictly players, I mean, let's not sit here and pretend like Tyreek didn't play a significant role in the Chiefs becoming what they now are.
Right.
You know, but yeah, you're 100%. Can I just say thank you for getting the context out there, because everybody ran with the false narrative that Chris is trying to find ways to, and this is exactly what happened last year, whether you agree or disagree on how Chris Jones handled things. Guys, this man is all about ball, and he loves this team. He'll do anything for Andy Reid. He'll do anything for this team. He loves to be tongue-in-cheek, as you guys can clearly tell. The man loves having a good time, and I'm glad you guys played the full clip, because people love running with half narratives, half truths, man. It makes it sound like this guy's trying to find a way out of things. He's not. He's a veteran. Obviously, they don't want to practice as much, but who are you really going to believe that the coaches aren't going to give those guys days off anyway? Oh, come on, man. Let's be real.
Exactly, 100%. That's why we did it. And Chris Jones is a great guy. Like you said, he's all about this team, and hated missing that first game. And you could tell that it just aided him being in the press box and watching what happened with Kadarius Toney on that field. And he's like, all right, just get something done, incentive laden, and we'll figure it out after this season. But I got to get back out there for my guys. And so, that's who he is at heart. And we've got this from Trey Neal, UCF safety, was on a podcast from IG Trenton, and he said, man, we overrate Patrick Mahomes. He's in the perfect situation ever. If you put Josh Allen on the Chiefs in 2017, he sits behind Alex Smith. You're getting the exact same player. When Patrick starts out, he has Kelsey, Reed, Watkins, and I love that he mentioned Conley instead of Tyreek Hill because it shows that he has no clue what he's talking about. All these guys are your wide receivers, so you cannot know what the coverage is that you're reading, and they're going to make plays regardless. I don't truthfully think there's this huge gap between Mahomes, Allen, and Burrow. The situation is the gap, in my opinion.
The Super Bowls are also the gap. We could start there. And, some people say things like this, and thank goodness Starcade Media is going to pick it up because we're there scouring for any pieces of content during the offseason. So thank you for saying something outlandish. It's almost time. It's almost time for first things first. It's almost time for Skip Bayless to start doing it as well. Let's get it going because we need the content.
Patrick Mahomes made Albert Wilson a lot of money in one game. Patrick Mahomes made Chris Conley a lot of money being the number 3 receiver. Patrick Mahomes made Byron Pringle a lot of money. He got a 1-year contract with the Bears for $5 million. Do I need to go on? I don't think Josh Allen or any of these other quarterbacks that this obscure dude mentioned about Patrick Mahomes is going to make these free agent wide receivers that much money. Patrick Mahomes is the man. Patrick Mahomes is in Kansas City. I hate these narratives, these freaking, well, if this guy played for that guy, if Lynn Dawson was in this era, I don't like it. So that's my point. Ask the receivers that got the money because of Patrick Mahomes if they feel the same as this nobody.
Well, can I say this real quick? Isn't it funny how this now becomes a narrative, but no one ever said that about when Tom Brady got to inherit Bill Belichick?
Thank you.
Like, can we sit here and say, well, if Aaron Rodgers would have had Bill Belichick, he could have got 6 rings? Or what if Tom Brady would have got drafted by the freaking Lions? Does he have 6 rings with that team? Highly doubt it, fellas. Nope. It's all about the situation. That's true. So when we talk about Patrick Mahomes and where he went, yes, this was the perfect situation. But we have to also remember something else. Andy Reid coached in this league for 20 years, almost 20 years before Patrick Mahomes took over, and had 0 Super Bowl wins and 11 playoff wins. Since Patrick Mahomes has taken over, he has 15 playoff wins and 3 Super Bowl victories. So let's be respectful of what Patrick Mahomes is in this league, man. Let's be honest. Yes, Josh Allen would probably have a ton of success in Kansas City. A lot of quarterbacks have had a lot of success. That's not I don't want to sit here and take away from what Josh Allen can do, but that is a non-starter in this conversation because we know what Patrick Mahomes is. And you can't take away from him because of the situation he's in. Because that is not fair. Then you have to take away, like I said, Tom Brady from Bill Belichick. You have to take away Joe Montana from Bill Walsh when he was in an offense the league didn't know about for almost a decade. The league had to catch up to the West Coast offense. Are you going to take away those 4 Super Bowls from Joe Montana? Or what about, Terry Bradshaw with the steel curtain? Are you going to take those away from him because he got to inherit that with Chuck Noll? Like, where do we stop here? Where do we begin with this? Like, it's such an absurdity that people are so mad that Patrick Mahomes is dominating the league unlike anybody we've ever seen in the history of this game, that now that we're trying to find ways to distract or discredit or deter from what he's done because he almost makes it look easy. Guys, it's just the perfect marriage. This is the best quarterback head coach duo we've ever seen in the history of this league, and it's only going to get better, baby. So just sit back, enjoy it, have a beer, drink a non-alcoholic beer if you're into that. I don't care what it is, but this is what we have, guys, and it isn't going anywhere because Andy Reid signed through 2029. Mwah.
Preach it, baby.
Preach that away from him, but what you can take away from him is pending free agents after this season going into 2025. You got Creed Humphrey, Nick Bolton, Trey Smith, Harrison Bucker, Justin Reed, Charles Omenihu, Marquise Hollywood Brown, and Noah Gray that are free agents after 2024. Who do you sign? Who can you sign? Who's going to be one that you're going to be reluctant, but just money-wise, you're going to have to let walk? Maybe it's a Trey Smith. A lot of people are saying the whole last 4 are probably going to have to go, and Marquise and Justin. And it's going to be a tough one. You're going to lose a player that you really like out there.
And we'll talk about all of it this coming March on our free agent freakout frenzy.
Thank you, Shane.
Clint, I couldn't have said that better myself. I think you know me better than me. You take
Well
that
done,
one.
well
What do you
done.
think,
Notable
Glenn?
players, of course. Some notable
We're
players
not
there. Harrison Butker, they said the last four. I don't think Harrison Butker is going to be here. And Harrison's a borderline Hall of Famer at this point. But this machine keeps rolling, and we know the history here. We know that the money can only go so far, and we will see how these players perform.
7 months. We get to
2024.
talk about it.
Yes,
Yeah,
in 2020, in 7 months.
The battle I'm looking forward to is Creed and Trey.
Yeah.
Our center and right guard. I mean, that is going to be a.
We
sweet
have to have a line. What are you talking about?
That's going to be fun.
What
Well,
if
here,
he's going to be running for his life?
my only point is go
The
watch the
line.
last two Super Bowls and say to yourself, man, that was a bad snap. Man, that was a bad snap. Man, that was a bad snap. Dang, there were so many bad snaps that just blows my mind. And Noah, I want to thank you for asking Andy Reid about that when you guys went up to the combines. You said, hey.
Andy said, not so fast. You're
Well,
wrong.
but still, it was an important question that needed to be asked. But still, they're talking about it behind the scenes. What's going on with Creed
Sure.
Humphrey in the last two Super Bowls?
It
Why
is-
has Patrick Mahomes got to pick up all these balls off his feet?
It is an issue.
But
Pause.
let's see it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to watch moving forward, the Creed and Trey battle. That's what I'm looking forward to this season. What are you looking forward
That's a
to,
good one.
Lance?
Shaggy, real quick to that response.
Every
You
time.
pay offense to draft defense. Brett Veach has shown this time and time again. I think that's how it's going to continue. I think if you're paying anybody right now, just if I give you guys my quick observation, I think both those offensive linemen are here to stay. I think that Nick Bolton is a guy they very much love, and I think they'll try to figure something out. If he wants to take more of a team-friendly deal, I don't think that's going to happen. And I think Nick Bolton's going to get himself a nice little payday somewhere else. I think he is a guy they can replace, and they showed in 7 games last year, their points per game average only went up about 0.3 points per game. Without him, that's why they signed Drew Tranquill long-term. That's why they've been drafting the hell out of linebackers. I think the Chiefs are going to be able to move off of defensive players a lot better. I think Justin Reed, you see the way they utilize the safety position, 3 and out. You go and get Tyrann Mathieu for 3 years, he's out. Justin Reed, I think it's going to be the same thing because he's going to be at the latter years of his 20s. I think the Chiefs have, and they've been very intentional how they build their rosters. I don't think they're going to change that anytime soon, guys. Creed and Trey, in my opinion, I view those guys as staples because Joe Tootie will not be here past 2025. He may not even be past here past 2024. So there will be money for the Chiefs to open up. I know everyone's fearful of that, but there will be money to pay, and I don't think they're going to have to pay Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith combined as much as people think at this point. I think they're going to find a way to keep both those guys here for the long term because they're both only under, I think, 24 and 25 years old. They're long-term answers in my eyes. Yep.
Yeah, we got it here. Creed had some rough snaps last season. He absolutely did, echoing what Shaggy was saying there. And I think we'll go with one more for tonight. We've got several other graphics, but Clint came up with this one. Change the result of one of these, whether it's the D Ford offside, Super Bowl 55, or the AFC Championship loss to the Bengals in 22. You only get one. Which one you picking, Shane?
You can't pick A. You can't pick A because if you pick A, the Chiefs don't trade D Ford for a second-round draft pick to San Francisco, and you don't get Frank Clark, and you don't get Steve Spagnuolo. You get cornerbacks like Orlando Scandrick and Steven Nelson. So you cannot pick A.
Interesting.
If I have to pick any, I'm going to pick C. That's what I'm going with.
But like Lance said on Twitter when we posted this, when you're talking about a surefire Super Bowl and against Tom Brady here, Super Bowl 55, and just the fact that Noah and I spent our last $12,000 in the world to attend and flew to Tampa, attended the Super Bowl, and wanted to leave at halftime. I begged Noah. He wouldn't let me. I was in such hell. You've got it. That's one less for Tom Brady. That's 6-4. And that's 2 back-to-backs, and that is an unbelievable feat in and of itself. Mahomes' legacy stamped. 4 Super Bowls right there already with Montana and Terry Bradshaw. And so, yeah, like Lance, like you were saying, I mean, I agree with you. You just changed the Super Bowl because even though I think you beat the Rams in Super Bowl 56, it's not a sure thing, and you're just getting to the game. And if you're giving me one more Super Bowl, sign me up for 55.
Yeah, it's got to be 55. I don't really care about 4 versus 6 or anything. I was there, and I paid a lot of money to be there.
Yeah.
I witnessed what I witnessed. It was a bummer.
Dang.
I hated it.
Sometime, Noah.
At random.
Like motioning the other way when Tyrann Mathieu got his interception. Then they're like, other Bucks fans, because it was filled with Bucks fans. That was another fun one for me. Or like, hey, buddy, flag. I'm like, oh, never mind. Sorry, celebrated. That's my fault. Should have known there was going to be no celebrating.
That is the outlier of Patrick Mahomes' career. That game is the outlier. That and the Titans 21. But
What did you pick, Lance?
Lance?
Like you said, he was quoting my Twitter account. I said B without question because you have a for sure Super Bowl if you change that one, and not only just the Super Bowl, you're beating Tom Brady, and like you said, it's 6-4 as opposed to 7-3 right now.
Yeah,
my bad.
No, you're good. You're good.
Good tweet. Like I said, I was at the game in the AFC Championship game when D Ford was offside. It sucked, but we got Spagnola. And Lance, like you said on your show a couple weeks ago, he's won 4 Super Bowls now, 1 with the Giants and 3 with the Chiefs. Do you bring up the conversation of Spagnola going to the Hall of Fame one day? I would definitely entertain that thought. And we don't get Spagnola if D Ford's not offsides.
Then maybe we'd be talking about Bob Sutton to the Hall of Fame.
No, we would not have got Bob Sutton to the Hall of Fame.
On that note, we are desperately out of time. Go Chiefs!